Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Biofrontera is a Germany-based company with almost 200 employees worldwide that develops and markets innovative products for the care, protection, and treatment of skin. Joining to discuss the company's outlook is Hermann Luebbert. He's the CEO of Nasdaq-listed Biofrontera. Hermann, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Hi, nice to talk to you.
Hermann, what exactly is Biofrontera's core business?
We have two dermatological drugs on the market, both in Europe. At least one drug we have in Europe on the market and two drugs in the US. And these two drugs are our flagship drug is for non-melanoma skin cancers. And the other drug is a new topical antibiotic. It's actually the first antibiotic on the US market in 10 years.
What differentiates Biofrontera from direct competitors in your key markets?
Well, when we look at the two drugs, then the drug against non-melanoma skin cancers come in various forms. And the earliest form is probably an actinic keratosis, which is quite frequent. About 50% of all men above 60 years have actinic keratosis, and about 1/3 of the women have actinic keratosis. And this can develop to squamous cell carcinoma, which is potentially fatal. And this progression from actinic keratosis to squamous cell carcinoma can happen already before the actinic keratosis becomes visible. And to prevent this, you have to treat not only the individual visual lesions, you have to treat the entire face in a so-called field therapy. It's usually on the face or the scalp or other hands, other sun-exposed regions. And our drug can actually do this. We have an approval by the FDA to treat with field therapy. And that distinguishes us from other treatment options. Another advantage that our drug has is it has a brilliant cosmetic outcome. It's actually skin rejuvenating, and that is an additional, not necessarily medical, but additional benefit. Now the other drug, which is called Xepi, that drug, as I mentioned, is the first antibiotic in 10 years, and the biggest advantage is it doesn't have any bacterial resistance.
Hermann, where do you expect the company to be in 5 years?
Well, these two markets, topical antibiotics and non-melanoma skin cancers are huge markets. In non-melanoma skin cancers, just in the US, we have about 13 million treatments every year. Topical antibiotics, about 11 million prescriptions. So if we only get a minor part of those markets, we can still talk about revenues in multiple $100 million. So we expect in 5 years to actually see revenues at least 200 million, probably more towards 400 million euros in revenues.
What has changed due to the coronavirus pandemic, and is the recent successfully closed financing a reaction to the crisis?
Yeah, we sell Ameluz, so the drug against non-melanoma skin cancer, directly to the doctors. And the doctors actually apply this in their office to the patients. It's a drug that's actually activated by light. And this light treatment has to be done in the doctor's office. So if doctors' offices are closed or patients are not coming due to the coronavirus, then we can also not sell the drug. And we have seen that fact in the US quite strongly. Many dermatology offices have been closed earlier this year. And treatments just didn't happen. So what we expect is a pent-up demand. In Germany, where the coronavirus crisis basically happened in April and May, and after that it's come back widely to normal, unlike the US, where the wave crosses the country with a certain delay in many states. We see this already. And our sales in Germany are already higher than they were in 2019. And so in the US, we expect a similar effect. But if a second wave happens, and if the lockdown restrictions that we see currently extend longer than we think, then just as a safeguard, we did this recent capital raise, which was a small capital raise of only close to 8 million euros. And the reason for that was legal restrictions in Germany. And we got a very strong support by our shareholders, old and new shareholders. And so the raise was heavily oversubscribed, which means that the strategy of the company is actually strongly supported by the investors.
And Hermann, to wrap up here, what can investors expect to see from Biofrontera for the remainder of the year?
So what we expect for the remaining of the year, due to the pent-up demand that I mentioned before, we do expect to be back on a strong growth trajectory. In the last 5 years, we have actually grown our sales by a factor of 10, and we expect this to continue. In the first half of this year, this hasn't happened, and but we do think we will go back to that kind of growth in the rest of the year. And what we do also to support the growth in the long run, we have very strong effort in research and development. And what we do there mostly is work on the label of these two drugs and try to extend the labels. And before the end of the year, we expect to submit another label extension to the FDA.
Okay, Hermann, thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.